Good evening and welcome to another segment of Thriving Together because thriving is not just a goal, it is a lifestyle. And this evening, I'm excited to have Miss Shanta Jackson, realtor extraordinaire, property manager with me tonight. How are you doing, Shanta?
Oh my goodness, LaRonda, I am doing so great. Thank you so much for this opportunity. First of all, I want to tell you that I just love your title, Thriving Together, because
Thank you.
really, if we aren't doing this thing together, what's the purpose? So
Right.
we got to make space for everybody. And so I
Mhm.
appreciate the opportunity. Well, I'm just here. I'm going to look for those of you who are not used to this little scraggly voice. I am Shanta Jackson with Jackson Realty Group. I have been, look, and I don't want to tell my age, LaRonda, but I have been licensed for 20 years this month.
Really? You
So
go
I am happy,
ahead.
honey, because God has been good. And
That's
so,
wonderful. Because
yes,
they say, realtors come into the industry, and what's the stat? They last 3 years.
yeah, they don't even make it 3 to 5 years.
Right. But you got that staying power. 20 years. Keep going.
Honey, look, I'm so excited. 20 years, it has been amazing. But as like you said, property management is how I pivoted. And so in 2011, for
Mhm.
those of you who don't realize, we had the Great Recession in 2008, and I was a newer real estate agent, and my whole world, literally, LaRonda,
Mhm.
crumbled underneath my feet. I
Mm.
remember it like yesterday. It was September 15th,
Mhm.
2008. I had two closings coming up. One lender had called me and said, "Hey, we just found out we all lost our jobs."
Oh
And I was
wow.
like, "What?" And then I had another lender call me and was like, "They're not doing any more loans." And so I was left out here like, how do I continue? How do I make it? Um,
Right.
but one of the good things that I learned was to pivot. I
Mhm.
worked with tons of investors, and
Mhm.
during this time, especially in Wake County, they would put deed restrictions on
Mhm.
homes. So when you bought a house, if you're an investor, you couldn't sell it for 24 months. And
Right.
so this 2 years. So you're
Right.
telling flippers, oh no, you can't flip anymore. You've got to now hold those homes. It
Mhm.
was a whole changing of the guard. And I kept hearing everywhere, LaRonda, do you know a good property manager? Do you know a good property manager? And girl, look, I wasn't working that well or
Yeah.
that much. And I was thinking, what these property managers do?
What they do, I
Right,
can't
because
do.
everybody keeps asking for one. And so one of my good friends, Sharon, had about 10 properties at the time. And I remember asking her about it. At the time, I went
Mhm.
to my bank and he was like, oh, yeah, we do it. And I will tell you, I literally dug in, LaRonda,
Mhm.
and realized that this is an opportunity. And I was reading books. I wasn't really on YouTube because everybody goes to YouTube University now.
Right.
But in 2011, it wasn't really that hot. So I was trying to read and ask questions. And I took on three clients of mine who were
Mhm.
investors. And now, thank the Lord, at 2025, we're up near 100 units that we're managing. RTP, look, Fayetteville, Rocky Mount, Lillington. Yes, yes. And so I feel like my business is the little business that could. And
Mhm.
so I'm so thankful because I've learned so much in this property management side.
Yeah.
So it's really been driving my business with
Mhm.
at the beginning, LaRonda, being a full-time real estate agent and doing a
Yeah.
little property management on the side. And now I'm doing a lot of property management and buying and selling on the side. So look how the tables have turned, but I am blessed. And I'm so thankful for everything that I've learned along the way.
Mhm. Turned indeed, but there was so much in what you just shared. And the thing is, yeah, we're gonna talk property management and the pros and cons and all that. But I love, like you said, during that time, your world, you felt like at the time, was crumbling under your feet. Some people would be paralyzed by that. But you saw an opportunity and you just went for it.
Let me tell you, LaRonda, I really feel like everything in my life
Mm-hmm.
has let's leap, let's
Mm.
leap. And from when I first started in real estate, I was so I don't tell you my backstory. I was a middle school English education teacher.
Mm-hmm.
I taught middle school English, loved it. Developed nodules on my vocal cords. The doctor cut too deep. Didn't tell me. Back in the classroom the next year, kept talking, completely lost my voice. Had to get another opinion. End up having reconstructive surgery done on my vocal cords. And yes, and so I wanted only to be a teacher or a principal. And so 2 years into teaching, I'm no longer able to do that because
Mm.
my doctor literally said, if you continue teaching, you can
Mm-hmm.
scar your vocal cords even more. So my first leap was leaping into real estate. That
Mm-hmm.
was my first leap. My son was born in March of '04. I took
Mm-hmm.
the class in October of '04, and I started, boom, January '05, and I haven't looked back. The second leap was literally staying in real estate after the floor fell. Because during this time, my husband actually lost his job. He was working at a TV station and then he went. We were so excited. We were like, oh, we're going to get
Mm-hmm.
normal hours. And then during that time, he lost his job. And then the market crashed. And
Yeah.
so we had to really think, like, Lord, what are we going to do?
Mm-hmm.
And LaRonda, we had to leap. And I
Yeah.
just feel like God has been guiding me every step of the way. And I joined right into property management.
Mm-hmm.
From there, my husband was like, we need to get our own LLC. And I was like, nah, nah, nah. And he went ahead and made the name Jackson Realty Group. Girl, I was pissed because I was like, I don't like that name. I don't like that name. And he was like, well, you didn't do it. And so I'm so thankful for him to do that. So he did that in 2014. We became a real business entity then. And then in 2017, I leaped again. And my husband and I started our own real estate company. We got office space and we went to work.
I am loving it. I hope that whomever is listening right now is getting all the feels like I have, because so
Oh,
many times there's been so many things where you could have just said, I don't understand. I don't get it. Why do you keep closing doors? This is what I want to do.
right,
But recognizing other doors being open to you and taking that leap. And it's a
right.
leap of faith.
It
We know
is. And
it's a leap of faith.
LaRonda, a huge leap because my poor husband, we were both of the mindset you put your head down, you
Mhm.
work. Entrepreneur was sort of like a bad word. I always
Right.
tell people and kid with them, my dad used to be like, oh, that just mean they drug dealers. So, the 80s and stuff. And so to actually go and do this and now to be standing here not surviving but thriving.
Mhm.
I'm just so thankful, and it wouldn't have happened unless we leaped.
Yeah. Well, talking leap, that's one of the things that I have been talk about. But in this season, my husband and I really desire to create some passive income because we're not getting any younger. And I don't know about you, not wanting to work every day, of our lives.
Right.
So thinking, okay, if we get into investing, and this is for any other aspiring
Right.
investors or current investors out there, what is the benefit of property management? What is it you do when it comes to
Right.
property management? Answering that question you asked yourself some years ago.
Right, right. Like, what do you do? So let me start with this because,
Mhm,
LaRonda, what I'm hearing is that you are trying to create passive income for
mhm,
you and your family. And
correct.
so, what I love to do is because I've worked with so many investors, and there's different ways to invest in real estate. But to
Mhm,
me, one of the, I won't say easiest, but one of the simplistic ways to get into real estate investing
mhm,
is to buy a property, hold it, and rent it out.
mhm.
Now, hear me out. So, there's 3 or 4 different ways to invest in, and we all know the first one with this flipping because HGTV has made that such a big hit. There's so many
Right.
flipping shows and all of that, but there is a lot to do when you're flipping. You got to know
Mhm.
your numbers. You got to be ready with your budget. You got to have your contractors ready because all of that can be a lot. And you're usually on a
Right,
timetable because
right.
every day that you're not working in that house, LaRonda, you are losing money.
Mhm.
And so you've really got to have a coach with you. If you're starting out, you got to be ready to go.
Right.
The other one is if you're wholesaling real estate, I feel
Mhm.
like that's a good one if you don't have any money, but you also need a team. You need to have buyers. You need to have a whole conglomerate of people. And you got to be ready to make these deals happen.
Right.
And so that's a little bit challenging too. Oh, but Rhonda, my favorite one, especially for you talking about passive income, is buying the property, holding it, and then renting it out. Now, let
Mhm.
me tell you why that is such a good way to get passive income. One of the things that we know about real estate is that real estate will appreciate.
Right.
And really, the only real estate that does not appreciate is a mobile home. Your single family home is going to appreciate more than a townhouse. A townhouse is going to appreciate more than a condo.
Mhm.
But no matter what, over time, it will grow in value. It may
Mhm.
not be a straight line up. There may be some ebbs and flows, but generally, if you are paying your mortgage and let it time go on, that property will grow in value. Now,
Right.
while you're holding on to that home, girl, you could be getting some monthly cash flow. And so
Mhm.
that's what that rent helps you do. So buying and holding helps you 2 ways, right? One, you're gaining value over the years, and then that monthly check, okay. Now, where property management comes in, the buy and hold does not work if you don't have tenants in the home.
Right.
The buy and sell method does not work if your tenants are tearing up the house and you're constantly putting money into it.
Mhm.
Buy and hold method does not work if you're not getting paid. And so for a lot of investors, LaRonda, they love the idea of making that property. But I want you to think about your first investment like this. It's your own little bank. Now,
Mhm.
would you let your bank and your money just sit unwatched to see
Yeah.
what's going to happen? No, you're going to
Mm-mm.
get a money manager. You're going to talk to someone in the bank. You're going to be budgeting that money. This is an asset that you want to grow. And as a property manager, that's where I come in. I am the gardener. I am going to take care of that property. I'm going to till it, right? I'm going to
Mhm.
check to make sure nothing is definitely wrong with the house. I'm going to watch it, put some light on it. I'm going to make sure that it continues to grow so that you, LaRonda, and or any other investor out there can actually get the benefits. A lot of times, and you have seen this just like I have, those
Mhm.
pictures on Instagram and TikTok, now that it's back, uh, people in the houses are destroyed. You
Yeah.
know, no one took care of it. It's because you get a lot of out of state investors that buy
Mhm.
into areas where they don't reside and
Right.
pray that just because you're getting the money,
That
that
they're
you're praying that they're keeping the house up.
right.
And
That
that's
doesn't mean that they care about what they are living in. They're just paying you the money.
right, right.
So how do you prevent that? How do you make sure the tent is caring for the home? And I'm putting some things out there, answers I have, but I want people to learn from this conversation.
Okay,
So, can you access the property? How are you making sure that people are
right.
taking care of the
The
property?
property. So everybody like this. To me, it's stages, and one that they don't talk about a lot. I treat tenants like people.
Mm,
Now, hear me out, LaRonda. I know you're
mm,
like, wait a minute. How does that mean? How do you get in? How are you inspecting? I treat tenants like people. We do not talk down to tenants. We
mhm.
understand that as property managers, our clients are the tenants
Right,
and the owners. We
right.
have to make sure we're like the liaison, right? It's a subtle dance between the two. And so, one way that we help keep values up is that we make sure that when tenants are going through difficult times, that we
Mhm.
treat them humanely. A lot of
Gotcha.
times, those tenants are inside that house. They get upset. You're rude. They could kick a hole in the wall.
Yeah.
You got to remember your temperament. When people are calling me names, I've been called every name under the sun. And I said, thank you.
They're not
Thank
expecting that.
you. Right. Look, trust me, they're not
Yeah.
expecting that. So that's
No.
one way that we keep the values up. The second way
Mhm.
is my company, we do inspections twice a year. Okay.
Okay.
Which means we're going inside the house, we're walking around the house, and this is important. A, do we have any extra pets that showed up? Do we have any extra people that
Mhm.
that's not on the lease? And do we see anything going on? Because a lot of times, being in real estate, we can spot problems
Mhm.
before a tenant. So we walk around, we're checking things out, we're checking, hey, have they changed the filters? Because those things are important. When we do that, not only do the tenants know, they coming, they're gonna
Right.
clean. So if they don't clean the house but twice a year,
It's clean.
it's clean, okay? And then we go right on in. And a lot of times we know the laws, LaRonda.
Mhm.
And a lot of times we'll get tenants that are like, oh, no, I got to be here. You can't come in the house when I'm not here. Incorrect.
Mm.
Once I give you a 24-hour notice, I got the key. I'm
Right.
coming in. And so we take pictures and then we provide that report to the owners. That way
Mhm.
they can understand, hey, is there any preventive maintenance? Did the gutters need to be cleaned? Are there some things that need to be done that maybe the owners need to know about? Are there some situations going on with the tenants? Like sometimes I can go in the house and I'm like, oh, I realized I haven't heard from the husband. So, hey, is husband still here? Oh, no, I kicked him out. Oh, he's still on the lease.
Yes. We
So
need
we
to
need to chit
check.
chat.
Mhm.
So coming in, making sure that we have access to the house is important.
Mhm.
Keeping the relationship cordial and respectful and
Right.
professional is always key. And then really the third thing is finding out that we have the best tenant possible to go into the home. Now I will tell you, nothing is fail proof because people's situations will change.
Right.
Real estate investing is a risk,
It
but
is.
we try and help to mitigate that risk by getting the right people in the home. So, for instance, we're looking for a certain credit score. We want to make sure that people are gainfully employed, which means they're making 3 times the amount of rent. And look, LaRonda, it has not been easy. My office, we have had to field fake pay stubs. We have had a cashier's check that bounced. You get all types of things, especially now, LaRonda, with AI. You can create bank statements. So we have to really be mindful. A lot of times, tenants are like, "What am I going to? What am I going to? Have I been?" To me,
Uh-oh.
that's
You're
a red
freezing
flag.
up a little bit, Shanta. Just FYI.
Oh, am I? Okay, hold
Oh,
on.
there you go. Okay.
Am I back?
You're back. It was here and there a little
Am I
while.
back?
Yes, you're
Okay.
back. It was here and there a little while ago, but it was a little bit more
Okay.
frequent. So that's really good information. And I'm hearing it because, okay, investors, if you have a job, a full-time job, if you
Yeah.
are running a business, if you're doing anything in addition to owning these properties and wanting to make sure people that are in them, there sounds like there's a lot that goes into just making sure you have the right person in there. So I'm hearing save time, save money, potentially save heartache, you
Yeah.
know, and things of
Look,
that nature. But wow, AI and creating bait
let
statements
me
and
tell you, yes. And this is what I'm saying. If you're the type, and so I will tell you, a lot of our growth has been from investors who are like, I don't want to do it. So I will
yeah.
tell you a story. I was at one of the repairs and the plumber was there and we were talking and it was one of the homes that we manage. And he was like,
Mhm.
wait, you manage homes? And I was like, oh yes, yes. And he was like, oh God, I got a tenant. I can't get her out. She's not paying. I don't know what to do. And I'm busy working and I don't know what to do.
Mhm.
I'm like, turn it over to me because I do know what to do.
Right.
And I'm going to save you because and people think that, for instance, that it's very expensive to do property management, or I don't want to lose any of my, cash flow coming in. Let me tell you,
Mhm.
we charge 9% for now. And if we're talking, and look, I'm trying to do some quick math for you. If I'm talking like $1,000, that's about like $90.
Right.
Y'all,
It's worth it.
it's worth it to make sure someone's going to take care of your property. Because I always tell people this. Investors like, oh, it's only one or two. I can do this myself. Property management is easy until it's not.
Right.
Until you get that one crazy tenant that
Mhm.
is calling, texting you late in the evening. I had one client we literally just got last week because the communication styles were off. They weren't vibing. He was stressed out. He was like, I just need a break. I just need a break because I feel like all I'm doing is this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, no. Because see, you can't text us. We have a portal. We have a
Mhm.
website. So tenants can go on the website. They message us through the website. They let us know what repairs they have through the website. They can pay on the website. So we have technology in place to make sure that we streamlining our processes. Where at
Right.
home, the normal investor is not. So
Mm-mm.
it is so important to make sure that we are keeping in tabs with that tenant
Right.
and the law. LaRonda, here's the other thing that I always tell owners. A lot of times people have been living in rentals their whole life.
Mm-hmm.
They probably know landlord tenant law better than you.
Right.
And if
Right.
you know, like I know, and if you've been in business long enough, you will get a tenant that will try and sue you.
Mm-hmm.
We do the documentation, we do the safeguards. So when you want to do something just because in the spirit that that's what I want to do, I am there to guide you and say, no, 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 this is what we must do. And so not only are we protecting your property, we're protecting you.
Mm.
And that's the thing I think people forget. That little 9% is small compared to the time and the energy that you may have or use up dealing with someone who knows the law better than you.
Mm-hmm. Very true. You've got my mind going in so many different places. I'm curious. I know you have seen some things, and of course, respecting confidentiality, no
Yes.
names. What's been the most unique experience you've had as a property manager so that people understand the things that you go through and why it's important to have a Jackson Realty Group managing their properties?
So I will tell you a crazy story that I did not actually witness, but
Mhm.
someone who worked with me, and if she's looking, I'm going to text her and be like, "Girl, you remember that story?" We we were managing properties. This particular owner had about 20 that we were managing,
Oh,
and so interestingly enough, this particular gentleman had called us about a repair. We were going to check. He was an older gentleman, have email. And so those are things that you have to worry about. Like if they don't have the technology, you still have to do your job. So we
yeah.
sent someone over and our employee knocked on the door and they opened the door and let's just say naked bodies were thrown everywhere. And we had to make sure it wasn't running awful.
Oh, oh,
So that was one interesting thing.
oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. So we remember that, and it. I don't want to say her name because I
No,
know
no,
she's
no, no.
cracking up.
Mhm.
But she said,
Look, the
"Shonda,"
moment you started talking about it, she's like, "Oh Lord, I know what she's
I
saying."
know what she gonna say. She came back to the office. She said, "Oh my God, Shonda, I just saw naked bodies going everywhere. Why did he let me in? Why did he let me in?" And so it's interesting. And so
Yeah.
you'll see a little bit of everything. And this was one of these properties that had another manager before us. And we were
Mhm,
starting to get to know all of the tenants. And they probably didn't know that we would actually be coming to the home to check
mhm,
on the repair. So a lot of times, like I said, you have to deal with, even though we're in this technology age, I still have clients that will mail in their checks, that will bring their checks to the office. And so I have some tenants that do not have email addresses. And so we still have to provide the same service to
mhm.
everyone. And so they probably weren't ready for us to
Right.
come
Oh,
to
no.
the house and be that prompt. And so that's one of the things that we took care of that issue. It was no longer a brothel, and but those we have a lot of little stories like that.
And I
You
mean, and
weren't
it's
ready for that one, LaRonda, were you?
I wasn't ready for that one. I had some in mind because I mean, well, you know this as a real estate agent, when you have investors that decide I no longer want to be in, rentals, I'm going to sell. When
Yes.
you're on the buy side, and I've walked into some very interesting situations, and like like I was asking you, and you were saying you want to treat people like people and have respect. So when I go into homes, I would remove my shoes.
Right.
That's
Right.
just something. Well, I got into one and I quickly regretted removing my shoes. And
Yeah.
I felt so terrible for the people living there because there's gaping holes in the ceiling to where the roof had leaked and things had fallen through, and it I can just go on and on. So, and I mention that because I have heard horror stories when it comes to when I'm ready to sell and looking at the condition of my home. So there are concerns there. And of
Right.
course, and I'm going to put Shanta's information back up again because I met Shanta and she didn't even know I was watching her.
I know. I'm
Uh,
like, what?
I know I was watching you, but I attended another session that was put on by a friend of mine and another colleague, Flo Jacques, and we were talking about investing. And I really appreciated the way in which you spoke about your role and what you do and how you really help investors protect their investments. So I wanted to make sure I took this conversation with you a little bit more further. So, of course, I'm sharing your information because I want people to reach out to you, ask questions, and learn
Thank
how you
you.
can support them. But in the event someone loses their mind and decides, well, I want to interview people, I want to shop around, what should they be
Right.
asking? What's important for them to
Ooh.
know when they're interviewing a property manager to know that they are contracting the right person?
Right. I feel like when you're talking to a property manager, you want to find out about their team
Hmm.
because while I may be the face,
Hmm.
there are people who work alongside me who are in the trenches every day. You
Right.
want to make sure what is their documentation process.
Hmm.
One of the things that I think you need to ask, because I feel like I have seen this firsthand myself, is once we have a vacancy and the home is ready to go, how quickly can you get that house on the market? I have seen a lot of other companies take a long time, almost a month or two, to get the house on the market. And I will tell you, LaRonda, that is, they don't look, every day that house is not rented,
That's lost
it's
income.
lost income. And so those are some of the questions I think people forget to ask is about their team. Also, the question you asked me about what are they looking for in tenants? And here's one of the other things. Do they have a say so in which tenants get in the house? So what we do at Jackson Realty Group is we provide a summary. Now we are very much about fair housing. So you're not going to
Mhm.
get names. Okay.
I
You're
like
not going
that.
to find out whether there's children in the house. You're going to just see occupants. We're going to see credit score. We're going to see where they work. We're going to
Mhm.
see income, right? We're going to see the things that really make a difference in approvals. Okay.
Right, right.
But we do a summary, we send it to our owners, and they say yes or no. Because some companies are like, it's your home, but you have no decision making.
Gotcha.
Yes. So, for instance, with Jackson Realty Group, if you have a repair, right, we will ask your approval for everything. Now,
Mhm.
sometimes some companies will do what's called a repair escrow, $200 or $300, and if it's underneath that, they're not going to ask you.
Uh-oh.
But if you know, like I know, can you hear me?
There you go. It was going in and out, but
Okay,
that time I
awesome.
lost you. I didn't have your voice, but go ahead.
Oh, no problem. So sometimes companies have repair escrows, and
Mhm.
so they'll take $200 or $300 from the rent, and as long as the repair is under that amount, they don't have to get your approval. Well, a lot
Mm.
of my investors, man, they need every DIME. Okay. And
Yeah.
so I'll give you an example. So a lot of times I work with quote unquote accidental investors, right? Something has happened. They inherited a home. This is not what they long to do. It's like, I have this house. Now what do I do? Or I'm getting married. I have this house. I don't sell it, so I'll just rent. And so they have lived in the property. So for instance, let me give you for instance, when a client is like, oh, we don't have any AC. And we're like, most people will be like, all right, let's call the AC company. Let's get them in there. So what we do is we send an email, we call, we say, hey, the tenant has said this is a problem. We call up the tenant, the owner, and the owner in one of the situations said, oh, this happens every year. Just go. Do you have me again?
There you go.
Okay. So the owner would say, Shanta, I've lived in this house. This happens every single season. Tell them to go to the breaker box, turn it off for 5 minutes, flip the switch, and turn it back on. Okay. So we do that. And the tenant was like, oh, it worked. I'm like, hey, if it happens again, please let us know and we'll make sure we get someone out there. But guess what? That owner just saved $190 for a trip charge. So that's the difference that we do. Now, we can't do that all the time, because if it's an emergency, we're like Johnny on the spot. Because if it's WATER, woo! Because mold is the 4-letter word in property management. So you want to make sure that gets done and taken care of right away. But this is how we serve our owner clients. And that's the thing. It's a relationship. We are serving them at the beginning by giving them rental analysis. And so that's the other thing I want to talk about too, LaRonda, very quickly.
Yes.
Because I get a lot of real estate agents who will send me, hey, my client just bought an investment home. It's going to be ready for sale. I mean, they're closing at the end of the month. Can you go over there and check it out? And I'm like, sure. But sometimes they shouldn't have bought the house because they didn't have their numbers for the rental analysis. So, LaRonda, I don't feel like I'm, but for investors, another way that property management can work with you is you can partner with a property manager before you buy that next investment house. Get the rental analysis, because in your mind, you may be thinking, oh, I can get $1,800, but rates and values in, not rates, but the rental rates in Raleigh, Wake County have gone down month after month. So people during COVID who were getting $1,800 for a 2-bedroom are now getting $1,600.
And so you can also, not only before buying, but you can also make sure my rate is where it needs to be to get the best value out of my property also.
Yes, because let me tell you, you make money when you buy the house. Because if those numbers aren't right, it's going to take you forever to cash flow, for the value to come up. And that was the whole purpose. And so that's another reason why, as an investor, you would need to be partnering with property managers. We protect you at the beginning, during, and like you were talking about, LaRonda, at the end when it's time to sell. A lot of time, those same clients are coming to me, Shanta, can you sell it? Because I know the home personally. I can speak on it. I can advertise it, so I can get it done. This is how a property manager can be with you from not only the beginning, the middle, but the end of your investment journey.
This has been such a great conversation. Again, I am sharing Shanta's information here. You have her number. That's the number to her office. You can reach her by phone, via email. What words of advice would you want to leave? We're coming up on our time. What words of advice would you have for me, a green investor, but even some seasoned folks out there who need a little help.
So I love this advice. One, be flexible. The plan that you have for yourself, if the numbers don't work, you change
Mhm.
it. If you
Mhm.
can't find it in the Raleigh-Durham area, go to Fayetteville, go to Rocky Mount. Be flexible. Also, look at the data. That's it. If the numbers don't work for you, it doesn't work.
Don't force it.
Don't
Mhm.
force it. Number three, I need investors to understand you're not living in that house. I've seen, yes, because people will come in, and I hear this all the time. Investors like, well, that's not what I need. I would need a larger bedroom. Honey, this isn't for your family.
This isn't for
This
you.
isn't
No.
for you.
Mhm.
A lot of times people only picture their lives in that home, and they're missing out on so much value. Oh, and then number four, because I'm talking a lot, location. I've seen people just buy a house that's not as expensive, fix it up, and then wonder 3, 4 months later, 5, 6 months later, why they
Mhm.
can't rent it because
Uh-oh.
where nothing is around it.
So don't just jump on that little cheap something. Oh, I can make some money here. Location is still important. Like you buying a house, your
Right.
investment location is important too.
Yes. Yes.
Should I or anyone be afraid of going outside of where they live when it comes to renting? Because you
No,
work in a lot of spaces. So should someone be afraid of that?
no. Let me tell you, the first method I think or strategy is be open minded.
Mhm.
Just like my own life, the opportunities are around if you see it. You got to be open. Go outside your comfort zone because that's exactly where your blessings may be.
I
Take
love
the
it.
leap. Take
Totally.
the leap.
I knew this conversation needed to happen, and I am so elated that you accepted my invitation. And I look forward to doing some more work with you, woman.
Yes, man. Look, come on now. I'm
I
here.
am. I cannot wait to give you a call and say, Shanta, I
Yes.
need you to manage one of my properties. I'm speaking it, I'm putting it
Look,
in
look.
here.
So write it down. Start
Okay.
getting your money ready, right?
Mhm.
Figure out what you're going to do. Are you going to be pulling that money out of your house? Are you going
Mhm.
to be pulling it for a 401k? Are you
Right.
doing cash? Figure that part out. Let's put together a strategy and let's get you that first door.
I got to, cause look, I'll be 50 in July. I've been shouting that from the rooftops. I don't know why, but I'm kind of excited about turning 50 in July.
Because we
But
blessed. I turned 50 last year.
really,
Yes, next month I'll be 51. And I
mm,
will tell you, LaRonda, I am loving it because I have realized that I will no longer put what God has given me in my heart
mhm.
on the back burner. It's time.
Mhm. We gotta have conversation outside of this. Yes,
Ooh,
yes, yes, yes. Thank you
you're
so
so
much.
welcome. You're so
So
welcome.
much. Here is Shanta's information. Shanta of Jackson Realty, realtor, amazing realtor, fantastic property manager.
Thank you.
And as you can see, she is an amazing woman, period. So thank you so much for being with me this evening. And as always, I want to see you guys back here next Thursday with a new topic. Thank you for joining us. Shanta, have an amazing night.
Thank you so much, LaRonda. And look, blessings to you.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you so much.
awesome. Have a good night, everybody.